All right. Greetings. OCO. Oh, an echo. Oh, what's going on? Oh, I gotta mute that. Okay. Sorry about that. I had another window open. Anyway, OCO. Buiti Binafi. Welcome to the Red Road East. I'm your host, Fierce Truth Seeker. The Red Road East is an indigenous TV program and YouTube channel dedicated to archiving and preserving the history, legacy, and culture of the original peoples of the Americas east of the Mississippi River and the Caribbean. Well, speaking of the Caribbean, today's show will be exploring Caribbean genealogy, tricks of the trade to doing research, okay, and helpful tips of advice, okay. So I know it's been a while. It's been a long while since I've done a live, and I greatly apologize for that, okay. And my work schedule is just so hectic that it doesn't allow me to create a lot of content. At some point in the near future, I'm looking to get off of the hamster wheel and be able to be self employed, where I can have more time to work for myself doing these things of an artistic nature for my livelihood. But until then, it is what it is, and the bills have to be paid, and I have to work that 9 to 5. All right. But how's everybody doing? I hope all is well in this new cycle. I don't call it a new year. We know that their calendar is not the real calendar, you know. So I say, how is everyone in this new cycle of 2026, this winter solstice time? And cycle. Okay, hope all is well. And there's been a lot of 2025 was real crazy. A lot of people made transition that particular year, you know, and even beginning this year, you know, it's sad. Um, I was on Facebook and I had just seen where another member of the group, another member of Third World passed away, Stephen Cat Core. Um, and Third World is one of my favorite groups, you know. Um, that's just how life is, We're here for we're just passing through, you know, just passing through. You know, everyone has an expiration date, you know, in this incarnation. So can't think that gonna be here forever. But yeah, this particular show is about Caribbean genealogy. However, if you are not of Caribbean descent, that doesn't mean that you can't watch the show. Because guess what? Many people from North America, believe it or not, a lot of quote unquote FBAs, when you go and you do your family tree deep enough, a lot of you are going to find out that you have Caribbean ancestry. This is a fact. I'm not asking you that. I'm telling you that. And I've done genealogy long enough to say that I've seen it time and time again. Okay. People who have no knowledge of Caribbean ancestry start doing their genealogy and start doing DNA and start finding DNA matches of people from the Caribbean. Then they check in their genealogy and check the records, and they find out that they have roots in the Caribbean. Okay, and that comes with also it's not so surprising, and it's a no-brainer if you know your American history. See, a lot of people, they have a surface knowledge of American history. I'm talking about North American history. Okay, but they don't have an in-depth knowledge, or some people think that they have an in-depth knowledge of American history, and really their knowledge is not as deep as they think it is. Okay, and as y'all saw in the last live that we did a few months ago with Dr. Fatu Diarra, okay, when she checked dad's DNA results from native ancestry, okay, dad had no knowledge of Caribbean ancestry outside of oral history with regards to Jamaica, okay, and some oral history of Haiti and Dominican Republic, okay, but no documentation to prove it, okay, just some relatives who were stating that. Outside of that, no knowledge of any Caribbean ancestry whatsoever, just straight what they call FBA. I don't subscribe to FBA because there is no, black is a misnomer. Okay, there is no such thing. We're not color crayons. Okay, we are indigenous people. Okay, of course, we are indigenous people and also people whose ancestry has admixtures as well. Okay, so this particular show is of interest to everybody. So feel free if you don't have any knowledge of Caribbean ancestry, um, still watch the show. It's good information. You may be able to share the information with somebody else. And I'm going to ask that those of you who are tuned in to please hit the like button, subscribe, and comment. Okay. And I see we have one person here on the in the chat. Okay. Greetings. And this is Betty Jenkins. Greetings, family. All right. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. Um, Betty Jenkins, are you of Caribbean ancestry? Are you looking to explore Caribbean ancestry, or are you just enjoying the program? Let me know in the comments. Are there any particular family surnames that you're looking to find out more about with regards to the Caribbean? Let me know. You know, um, so I'm hoping that we'll get some more viewers. Right now, I only see two so far. I was really hoping to have more, but I do know that you know, uh, a lot of people may be busy. Oh, and also before I go any further, I want to acknowledge Dr. Martin Luther King. Okay, this is the day that is set aside in honor of his birthday, which was on the 15th, I believe, on the 15th. But today is the day that, it's celebrated because it falls on the week. Uh, and, you know, even though it's Dr. King's birthday, I do also know that there are some people who may still have to work, unfortunately. Luckily, I'm off, but not everyone honors our fallen heroes and sheroes, you know. So yes, we want to give shout outs to uh, the late Dr. Martin Luther King. Okay. And okay, the Hill family. Oh, okay. Now, where were your Hill family from? Which island? And while we're waiting for that, so some tips of advice for doing genealogical research. Even this is across the board, not even in just in the Caribbean, but a common mistake of people doing genealogy that I see is trying to think of yourself as just being one ethnicity or having one place of origin or one tribe of origin. I know there's a lot of people who watch my channel because of the fact that this is an indigenous TV program and YouTube channel. When doing genealogy, we all don't have the same genealogy. Okay, a common mistake that I find people who are just discovering some indigenous ancestry and things of that nature, and especially those who subscribe to the ideology of uh, American Aborigine and things of that nature, they go into doing genealogy with a bias. Okay, and that's one thing you never do. I don't care what type of research you're doing, especially when it comes to genealogy, or even if you're writing a book or whatever. For those who have read my book, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but those who've read my book, they all come back and say, "Man, that book was powerful." You know, a lot of people say they couldn't put the book down, okay? And they appreciate my approach to the research. Why? Because when I do research, I don't speak from a biased perspective, okay? I see things from every possible angle and from a non-biased perspective, okay? And that same mindset should be applied to doing genealogy, okay? So when you're in, when you're doing genealogy, if you go in with a bias and you say, oh, I know my family is such and such a tribe, or my family is Seminole. Okay, so I'm just looking for similar. If you go in just like that, you're setting yourself up for failure. Okay, keep an open mind. Very few people this day and age are just one thing. Okay, the best way to find yourself running to a genealogical brick wall is to come from a biased perspective and just look for one thing. That's the best way to run into a roadblock. Okay. So you got to think sometimes, let's say if you talk, okay, let's say you're talking from a tribal perspective. Your family may have said that you were, let's say, Seminole or whatever. You may not have been Seminole. Your people may have been another tribe. Happens all the time. Okay. Or you may be more than one tribe. Okay. Sometimes your ancestors may have gotten some of the information wrong for whatever reason. Okay. So you got to be open to all possibilities. Okay. Go in with a blank slate and just say, okay, I'm looking for my ancestors who were here, there. Okay. Talking about the Caribbean. Okay. Let's say if you look in St. Vincent, okay, just go in and look for records for your family. Okay. Don't go in saying, okay, I'm only looking for, okay, let's say your family name is Johnson. Okay. I'm just looking for Johnson. you know, I know some people who feel that, their their last name that they carry is the only surname in their family. Yeah, I know people like that, you know, and that's another way to set yourself up for failure because you already, you're not just what your mother or your father's surname is. They had parents and they had surnames. Their grandparents had surnames on each side. And that number grows exponentially with each generation. Okay. So, one tip of advice, another tip of advice that I would say has helped me with my particular research is connecting with your ancestors. Okay. And however you see fit to do that, we're not going to get into a religious debate or things of that nature. However you do it, that's how you do it. You know, uh, some people uh, come from a very conservative perspective on that. Whatever. But I can't tell you how to do that. Some people when they before they go to bed, they pray and this, that, and the other. Mm. Say your prayers and just ask for guidance in doing your research. You know, some people have altars with pictures and familiar items. Some people do ancestral money, you know, things of that nature. I can't tell you how to do that. I don't even want to get into that conversation. I'll just keep it broad and say connect with your ancestors, you know. And that has helped me immensely. Okay. Uh okay, so let's see. Betty Jenkins says, I'm not sure. My great grandparents were from the Caribbean. I don't know which country. They ended up in North Carolina. Okay. And then says, it just came to me there was a slave trader named Hill from Barbados who brought people to North Carolina. Okay. Oh, okay. So, all right. So then tune into the show that because we're going to get into that a little bit later on in the show. Okay. And give me 1 second. Bring something up here to share. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Yeah. So, yeah, something that I meant to pull up. Okay. I'll save that. Anyway, yeah, I'll bring that up later. And yeah, so that's my tip. Another tip, connect with your ancestors however you see fit, you know. And I can strongly say that my journey in walking the red road is solely guided by my ancestors. Okay. And another tip is when you do your research, you want to know the colonizer, the particular colonizer of the island. Each island was colonized by a different European country. Okay. And you have both enslaved and free populations there. Okay. Both enslaved and free populations there. And also keep in mind that there were a lot of indigenous peoples. So when people talk about Caribbean and Caribbean ancestry, people talk about the slave trade, and they only one of the mistakes is they only think about the those who came via the African continent, okay? Not realizing that even before the Africans, the indigenous peoples here were being traded intercontinentally and back and forth between the Caribbean islands and the mainland. Okay. So when you're talking about, for instance, Miss Jenkins here, right? As she said, it came to her that there was a slave trader named Hill from Barbados, and they were brought to North Carolina. Okay, because that's a lot of that was going on. So when you're doing Caribbean genealogy, you want to look at two places, two main places. You want to look at Jamaica and you want to look at Barbados. Okay, because it's from those two islands that you have the dispersal to the other ones. Okay, and also here in the mainland, prime example. So my father, when he did his DNA on 23andMe, where it has countries of origin, two places it names is Barbados and St. Andrews Parish, Jamaica. Okay. Now, my father doesn't have any knowledge of Bayesian ancestry on his line. Okay. But there it came up in the DNA. So you have a lot of people who don't want to deal with DNA. However, that's your prerogative. You know, I can't tell you, how you go about doing your research. You know, if you don't want to deal with DNA, fine. Don't deal with DNA. But then, again, you go to the doctor, they got your DNA anyway. Okay. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna escape them getting your DNA. You go to a dentist, they got your DNA. You've given blood, they've got your DNA. Okay. Before I go forward, let me just let it be known on Facebook that I'm live now. Just give me 1 second. Wait, let me first, and let me see how many people have joined us so far. We got two people. That's it. Man, I'm disappointed. Okay, so if we have two people, hold on, let me see here. Let me just refresh the page. Because sometimes it gives you a wrong number. Two people. Okay. All right. Anyway, yeah, give me 1 second. Let me go to Facebook. And I want everybody to know that we're live. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Hey, everyone. Live on YouTube now. And let me drop this link. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Just letting everyone know on Facebook that we're live right now. Okay, cool. So, yes, as I was saying, you have some people who don't want to deal with DNA. If you don't want to deal with DNA, don't deal with it. But I can tell you, if you don't, if you want to be doing your genealogy at a snail's pace, then don't deal with DNA. Okay, because with these DNA companies, they have features to allow you to do further research where you can find DNA relatives, find the journeys of ancestors and things of that nature. Okay, so I can say that it's helped me greatly to catapult my genealogical research. Okay, so and then you have some people, that's another thing too with our people. Our people deal with so many pseudoisms. It's crazy. I know some people who actually believe that genealogy is fake. Some I know some people who believe that genealogy is fake. Figure that one out. You know, there's a lot of street corner scholarship that goes on. Okay, and if you deal with street corner scholarship, I don't know what to tell you. Some people say, "Oh, there were never any such people as, you know, uh, no such people as, you know, Indians. The tribes were fake. There were no tribes here. There were no genealogy. Only goes back, you know, to your parents." I hear all kind of, I hear all kind of stuff, man. I'm like, where do they get this stuff from, man? You know. So you're gonna tell me that the Garinagu or the Garifuna people never existed? Okay, I'm right here. Okay, the people on the island of Yorome or Saint Vincent are still there. They're in Honduras. They're in Belize. They're in Guatemala. I even recently found out that there's Garinagu, or that's the plural for Garifuna. Okay, I even heard this Garinagu in Trinidad. I just recently found that out. There's a whole bunch of us here in the Bronx, in Brooklyn. Okay, so how can you say that there were never any indigenous people here? It's all fake. I hear this kind of stuff, man. I can't make this stuff up. I am not making this stuff up. People actually believe that, you know. It's street corner scholarship. I'm like, you know, who are you listening to? I don't want to call any names and things of that nature. I'm not going to do that, you know. But I know they're listening to a lot of pseudos out there, street corner scholars, you know, as Wesley Muhammad put it, street corner scholarship. You know, you have people who believe that there were no Africans that were brought here. Okay, if you want to believe that. You know, um, I can't tell you what to believe. You know, I can't go by somebody's belief. I have to go by the record. Okay, I have to go by the oral histories. You can't tell me that there were no people brought to the Americas from the continent if you have a religion called voodoo in Haiti or Haiti. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that there were no people brought from the continent if there are people who practice Lukumi or Santeria and Palo in Cuba. Okay, you can't tell me that there were no people brought here from the continent. If the Mardi Gras Indians in Louisiana say themselves that they are the product of Africans and Indians or the indigenous people here, or if you have the practice of New Orleans voodoo, okay, root work, conjure, and things of that nature here, okay, and you have deities or orishas in the pantheon, like Papa Legba, okay, and all the other Yoruba orishas in that pantheon, okay. So you have to, and the same thing with uh in Trinidad, okay, the Orisha Baptist, the Shango religion. Shango, who is Shango? Shango is an Orisha, okay. You understand? You have in many more islands, same phenomenon, okay. So, and I could go on and on. I ain't even scratched the surface yet. Okay. So you have to keep an open mind when doing your genealogy. Put all that you think you know to the side and just look at the records and take it from there. Okay. So as I was saying before, even before the Africans were brought here, I had to go through all that because I already know. Oh, okay. Hey, Pops is in the house. Now, did you want to get on the panel too? Or you just want to check on the sidelines? It's up to you. I could send you the link. Let me know. Uh I had to get all of that stuff. I had to go through all of that before I could get into the next, because I already know that there was going to be people who were going to say, "Oh, there were no Africans brought here," and blah 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 blah. No, we're going to have those type of people. So, you know, I had to clear that air and deal with that before going forward. Okay, so if you do your research and you just look at records of your family, their migrations, and things of that nature, you're going to be able to cover a lot more ground. Okay. As I said before, you want to look at Jamaica and you want to look at Barbados when you're doing Caribbean genealogy. Okay. Let's take, for instance, St. Vincent. Okay. In St. Vincent, you definitely want to look at Barbados. Now I'm gonna show you something. Give me 1 second. Let me find I have a resource right here. Give me 1 second. Don't go anywhere. I just want to show you something. See here. Don't go anywhere. One and give me 1 second. I wanted to show you a reference. Don't go anywhere. This one and where's the other one? Because I don't like to just talk. I like to have my references. Hold tight. Don't go anywhere. Matter of fact, okay, this is one of the books, but there's another one. Give me 1 second. Let me play some music while I get that reference. Give me 1 second. Anyway, there's a particular book I was trying to find, and only because I'm trying to find it, I can't find it. Because, as y'all know, I don't like to just talk. I like to have my references. But for some reason, and I had the book right in my face yesterday, and for some reason, I can't find it today. Crazy, you know. This is what happens when you have a lot of books. You have a lot of reference materials. It just gets lost in the sauce. But I don't know. This really it really gets to me when I can't find something. You know. But anyway, I'm not gonna worry about that. It's proceed for as I was saying. Um, oh wait, some more. Okay, let's see. Hold on. I'm looking in the comment section. Just enter. Oh, okay. Pops is just entering the house. I'm listening to a master teacher, so I will be an apt pupil and just observe. Thanks for the advice, for the invite. Okay, no problem. Yeah. Well, Yeah, so we I'm not gonna worry about that reference book. I'll just tell you what's in it. I'm the type of person, I don't like to just talk. I like to show and prove. But, you know, I can just tell you where you can research the information. Okay. So anyway, so with regards to St. Vincent, if you're doing research and your people come from St. Vincent, then you definitely want to check Barbados as well. Okay, records for Barbados, because you had many people who were enslaved in Barbados who were escaping the plantations, and they get on uh, little rafts or little boats and stuff like that and come to St. Vincent. And oftentimes they would mix in with the Caribs there, with the quote unquote Caribs there, or the Kalinago or Garifuna, okay? And the Garifuna numbers started to really increase with the influx of Bayesian refugees, okay, that came and mixed in, sort of like the whole Seminole history, okay, very similar to that. You know, that's what was going on in St. Vincent, okay. And when I do my genealogy, now we're not talking about my father's side, we're talking about my mother's side. You know, my mother's side, we not only have the St. Vincent ancestry, but also Bayesian, Barbados ancestry as well. Okay, so definitely look into that. Now, before I go further, I noticed saw some new comments in the comment section. Let me just make sure. I like to make sure I acknowledge everybody. Okay, the new ones was coming from Dad. Okay, all right. So let's see. And okay, we got 4 watching now. All right, you know, it is what it is. At least the numbers that are there, um, hit the thumbs up for the most part. I don't know if everybody hit the thumbs up, because there's no, I don't think everybody hit the thumbs up. But if you're watching, please do hit the thumbs up button. Okay, like, and if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. Okay, and so now so now we were talking about St. Vincent. Okay, and as with other islands, you had enslaved and you had free populations there. Um, so that reference for what for St. Vincent that I was just talking about, the book called The Black Caribs. Okay, there's a book called Black Caribs, and I know I have it here. I was just looking at it yesterday. You know, it was here, and it's just now that I'm looking for it that it's not here. The strangest thing. all week. That book was right in my face. And now that I'm looking for it, I can't find it. Strangest thing. The strangest thing. They call those jinns. They say the jinns, they hide, or those, trickster spirits. They hide things from you. I don't know. This is crazy. Oh, wait. Give me 1 second. I think I may know where it is. Give me 1 second. Let me see here. Oh, I hate this. I hate this. Man. Oh well. I hate when I can't find stuff. It really bothers me. It really aggravates me. You know. But anyway, um, the book is called The Black Caribs. Okay, and the page is page 39 to 40. I know that much. Okay, the Black Caribs, and it has colors, the colors of the Garifuna flag. These colors here, okay, on the front cover. All right, but anyway, yeah. So now also keep in mind that um, as I said before, not all peoples were enslaved, okay, and some were. Okay, each of us have a different genealogy. Okay, each of us have a different genealogy. What my particular genealogy is going to be different from yours. Okay, so that's another thing too. We don't all have the same history. I know we all want to think that, but we all don't have the same history. No, two people have the same history. So, all these people going around saying, we this and we that, you know, you can't listen to that because there's no we anything. Okay. So when you go and do your research, you're looking for your particular story. Remember that, your story, which is not someone else's story. Okay. Um, and also, many of the enslaved, when they became enslaved, didn't have surnames. The free people did. Okay. The enslaved got their surnames once they uh, got on the plantation, and they would be given surnames then. Okay. Um, so you had indentured people, and you had those that were enslaved as well. Okay. Um, let me see. Let me give me 1 second here. So you have some resources that you could use. Because remember, now when I first started doing genealogy, a lot of the Caribbean research in terms of ancestry, a lot of the Caribbean records were not digitized when I first started doing my genealogy. Okay. A lot of it was not digitized. You would have to either go there directly, or you would have to call them on the phone and get the records. Okay. So nowadays, it's a little easier, in the uh, internet age. Okay. Um, you have resources now that you can use, you know, at your disposal. Some paid and some that you have to, and some that are free. Okay. Many of them you have to pay for. Matter of fact, most of them you have to pay for. Okay. So now they have what they call family tree. Not family tree, family search. Okay. And family search is a free site where you don't have to pay. And family search is that is run by the Mormons, okay, or the Church of Latter-day Saints, okay. And let me see if I can bring you to the site here. Let me share the screen. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Share screen. Let's see. Image file. No, not image file. Let's see. Let's see. How do I share this? Let me see. Share screen. Give me 1 second. They changed these features up a lot, so things become a little more complicated. Image file. How do you just share the? Oh, okay. You're making everything so doggone complicated. You used to just be able. Now they're asking you to grant access and blah, blah, blah. And what's all this stuff? Goodness. What was once simple is just so complicated. Share screen. Why can't I just share the screen? Okay, I have to do it a different way. Give me 1 second. Jesus Christ, man. Okay, I'm gonna have to do it this way. I got a screenshot. This is everything becomes just so complicated, you know. Rename. Fan search. Jesus Christ, man. Okay. Bear with me. Just having a little technical issue. Okay. Share screen. It should show it now. Okay. Documents. Downloads. Recents. Okay. I had to screenshot it in order to share. I can't just go into the site and share the screen. My goodness. So anyway, so this is Family Search, okay, and it's free. You don't have to pay for Family Search, okay, and you can look up records here, and you see here it says St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You know, it has parish records, online resources, 1765 to 1870, um, parish records of St. George Parish, Church of England, St. Vincent, West Indies, extracts of records and indexes, um, and also the years 1590 to 1928, Caribbean births and baptisms, 1590 to 1928, um, how to use this collection index, um, and things of that nature. Caribbean marriages, 1591 to 1905, and another option to find out how to use the collection. Caribbean deaths and burials, 1790 to 1906. Um, British Armed Forces and overseas births and baptisms, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Um, find bypass. I guess that's a link. Um, and also for St. Vincent, I've gotten a lot of records from St. Vincent and the Grenadines by calling them up personally and having certified copies, having them send certified copies of BMDs or birth, marriage, and death records. Okay. And you just call them up and they will gladly assist you. You know, you tell them a name that you're looking for and they'll, look for those records. You know, you tell them when they were born, or, if you're missing some dates or whatever, they'll help you. They're very accommodating. They take their time and help you, look for your records. you know, and things like that. Okay. So yeah, that's that. That's family search. Let's see. And let's see. Give me 1 second here. Let me close that out. Let's see. I want to close that. Sweet. Okay, remove. Okay, there we go. Okay, and okay, before I go further, let me see how many we got. We got 7 watching now. Okay, all right. Let me look in the comments section, see who we have. Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's how it is. Idiosyncrasies of the beast. They hide things from you, you know. That's right, and they laugh while you're searching for it. Then they return it to you when they least likely expect it. That's true. Like poltergeists and mischievous kids. Yeah, it's true. I know that's a fact because I've looked for things multiple times in the same place and it wasn't there. And I go back and look in the exact same place and it reappears out of thin air. I kid you not. And my wife, she's even verified that. You know, she bore witness to that. Okay, and wait, how do I get this off of here? Okay, remove from studio. That's how you do that. Okay, yeah, and yeah. So also, let's see what else we have here. Yeah, you want to one other valuable, really valuable resource that you can use with doing your genealogical research is and also in putting together your family tree, and that is utilizing and also including extended family. Okay, your family, which is your family friends who grew up with your family, you know, they're not necessarily biological family, but they were like family and they were always, you know, they grew up with the family, you know, help raise your family members and things like that. That's a valuable source that you could use because let's say if you don't have any living biological family, those extended family members can help you in terms of trying to find out things about your family, who was who, you know, lineage and things of that nature, you know, definitely extended family. You got to utilize those resources. Okay. Uh, you know, I use it, you know, and also just talking to people, you know, sometimes, you know, like give you a story. I used to work in Brooklyn at a mall back in the days. And the store that I worked in, I used to run into a lot of people from the Caribbean, and we just get into conversations and things. And, you know, find out just in conversation, you know, that so and so was from a particular island. And then we get to talking and, you know, find out that we're relatives. That's happened on so many occasions, you know, and then we'd exchange family trees, you know, and if they didn't have a family tree put together, then we just exchange knowledge of what we knew in terms of the family. And those were all clues that helped me to build upon what I had in my knowledge base with regards to family history, you know, and one thing leads to another, you know, or even reading books about the particular island that your your people are from. Okay, like for instance, I was reading this book here. Okay, and this has nothing to do with genealogy. Okay, and but it's a book about a calypso composer. Okay, and in this book, it really talked about a lot of things that I could relate to, you know. And as I was reading the book, now this particular author uh, is from St. Vincent, and just from reading the book, I learned something about my family just in reading this book that had no idea. Okay, and this book has to do with music. It doesn't even. It's not even a genealogy book. Okay, but it had some very interesting information because this particular arranger had worked with some of my family members, okay, who are musicians in the Caribbean, okay, in St. Vincent, okay. So that's another way to find out about family. Sometimes, when you're digging, you have to, especially when, you know, if you don't have all the information you're looking for and you're having roadblocks, you have to be unorthodox. You know, you have to be unorthodox in your approach to the research. You know, uh, there's another book here that's another resource of information. Give me 1 second. Let me share the screen. Give me 1 second. Image file. Okay, this book, "The Negro in the Caribbean," is written by Eric Williams. Okay, and that's another resource um, that you can utilize. Okay, doing your research. Okay, I have that book on the shelf. Okay, somewhere. I got so many books, I just can't keep up with them. You know, and hold on, give me 1 second. How do I get that off? Okay, and then remove. Okay, it's another resource. Um, let's see here, give me 1 second. Now, for those of you who are here in New York, the New York Public Library is a good resource. Okay, New York Public Library. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Trying to pull up something here. Okay, there it is. Let me see if I can get you to that. See if I can share the screen. See if this won't act up. Goodness. Google Chrome app bundle would like to record this computer's screen and audio. Grant access. For what? They didn't have this before. Deny. I don't want you to record my shit. Come on. Choose what you share with screen.com. I gotta find out what's up with this. Never had to do that before. Goodness. It's like everything is a total invasion of privacy. So I gotta put this on. Man, I'm not gonna deal with that. Cancel. Why you gotta be all up in my business? Cancel. Deny. I'll just screenshot the website. I'll screenshot it for you. Give me 1 second. Capture. Now I'll share the screen that way. It's an image file. It's a shame you gotta even do that. Um, Recents. Let's see. It must be this one here. Yeah. Okay. So New York Public Library. All right. They have resources for doing Caribbean genealogy. Okay. And they're located on 42nd Street. If you're in New York, they're located on 42nd Street, where Bryant Park is. Okay. So you go right on in there. Okay. And you can talk to the, they have the librarians there that will gladly assist you with your research. Okay. And let's see here. They have, hold on 1 second. Let's see, New York Public Library. Give me 1 second. Let's see this here. They have this, let me X this one out, remove image file, recents, notes, 122. Here it is. Okay, so New York Public Library, they have this Milstein division, okay, um, of U.S. local history and genealogy, okay. I don't know if y'all can see that. Try to see if I can make it bigger, if I could solo that out. Can I- that's a little better. Let me see if I could solo it out. Let me do that. Full screen layout. Okay. Yeah. I think you can see that a little bit better. Okay. And you could probably, and I guess being that it's online, yeah, you could don't necessarily have to go there in person, you know, do it like that. But yeah, I used to go to New York Public Library and do a lot of research. Okay. Hadn't been there in a while, but yeah, it's a good place to do research. Now let me X that out. Remove. And give me 1 second. Remove from studio. Okay. And let's see how many people we got with us now. So we got 6 watching now. Yeah, and feel free, you know, if you want to if you have questions, you know, you wanna, you know, so we have somebody here that's looking for the hills. Okay. We got someone who's looking for the Hill family. So if there's anyone who's watching and you know your people are Hills, connect with Betty. Okay. Now, is there anyone else who's watching who is interested in certain name, excuse me, certain surnames? Let me know in the chat. You know. Also, go. You know, I know about go to Family Search, which is owned by the Mormons. But I would say go to the Mormons in person. You know, and have them to do some of that legwork for you. You know, the Mormons got all the records. How you doing, cuz? Good to see you. Yeah, Awanasa in the house. And so now, if you're doing research, hold on, let me share the screen. Oh, wait. Bear with me. Again, it takes a longer time. To do this stuff. When you have to screenshot and all of that. Give me 1 second. Then too, I got a lot of I made a lot of leeway with regards to genealogical research by on the DNA sites that I tested on with meeting cousins, DNA relatives who I was able to exchange genealogy with. And that's always good because whatever you may not have, that could take up that takes up the slack because, you may have a piece, that person may have a piece, you know, and it really allows you to get pieces of the puzzle that you may not be able to get because even though we have these records and resources, some they don't have everything. Okay, I'm just going to tell you just like that, they don't have everything. Okay, they really don't. And you talking to people and exchanging genealogies, it helps so much. And again, all of these tips and tricks of the trade that I'm giving you, I'm not telling you based on what I read in somebody's book. I'm telling you what I've done myself to be able to trace my ancestors going back to the 1700s. Okay? These are things that I've actually done. Okay? And there's no guarantees that you'll be able to do it yourself, but these are useful tips and tricks. It all depends on what you have to work with. And I know, I have associates who do genealogy for people, and they have clients who are impatient with them because they're not able to give them fast results. And some of them have lackluster family trees to begin with. They can't even go past their grandparents and expect for people to work a miracle. Now, I don't do genealogy for people personally, as a business. You know, I do it for family and close friends, and that's pretty much it. You know, that's not to say that at some point in the future when I don't have to work a 9 to 5, that that I won't do it then. You know, um, but I can't. Genealogy takes too much work. It takes a lot of time, and you have to dedicate a lot of hours to doing it. And I know some of these people who have clients, they charge a very minimal fee. Like they're only charging like $100 or $200, and for doing genealogy, that is really cheap. I'm like, you're good, because I wouldn't do it, you know, not for that, not for $100 or $200, you know, because the amount of hours that you have to put into that, it doesn't balance out, you know. It if you do genealogy, if you've done your own personal genealogy, then you'll know that you can't just, because I know, like, some of my family members have paid professional genealogists to get records, and they paid like $500-600 just for one family line, and that's just for one family line. Okay, so imagine you're only charging $100 or $200 to do a whole tree for somebody. No. But anyway, getting back to the research. So now, if you're in the UK, let's see here, image file, recents. Let's see here. Okay, if you're in the UK, they have the National Archives. Okay, it's up here on the screen. Okay, and they have good records there on that you could do for Caribbean genealogy. Okay, and that's the information right there. Okay, and they have very good references for Caribbean genealogy. They've got small books, uh, and they also have big giant books that are so big that you have to carry those. Matter of fact, I want to go to. It's been a long time since I've been to the UK, but I want to go back there just to do that research. Because I know that there they have giant books, man, and they got books that are like this big that you got to carry. It takes two people to carry. They got to move it around on a cart. Okay, and those books you have to, you have to take many trips there. You have to really, if you want to do that research, it can't be like you're going there for like a couple of days vacation. You need to be there for like a couple of books. A couple of books. See, I got books on my mind. You've got to be there for a couple of weeks and forget about, trying to, do the tourist thing, and go and hang out and all that stuff. You know, you're going to need to dedicate all of that time to doing that, to just being in there and doing that research, because those books are real big and expensive, you know, and they tell you a lot of, they give you a lot of in-depth information with regards to Caribbean ancestry. You know, um, they've got plantation slave registers, um, with slave and owners' names. Um, they got uh, maps and things of that nature with um, huge maps with that are like 300 years old, you know, with war strategies and things of that nature. They tell you about American Indian settlements and Maroon settlements and things of that nature. Um, slave narratives, you know, and talking about um, indentured servants and talking about obia and slave narratives, just like how they have the slave narratives here in the states, and they tell you the origins of where those enslaved uh, ancestors come from. Okay, the tribes that they come from and things of that nature. They tell you, like, if they were from Senegal, if they were from Congo, um, and what ethnicity they were, whether they were Mandingo, whether they were Igbo, mulatto, Indian, etc. You know, um, so you definitely, I definitely want to go there. I have to take a trip, and I plan to take a trip there. As soon as I get some free time. You know, um, and Awanasa is asking, do they have records of the cargo ships of the Caribbean and North America? Um, I'm pretty sure they do, um, but you can contact them, you know, and see, you know, contact them, and a lot of these places, you know, you contact them. At least I know from, when I contacted St. Vincent Registry, and all of these places, you call and you ask some questions and stuff like that. They're more than happy to answer your questions and things of that nature. You know, um, yeah. But I plan to take a trip and go there in person. Because those books are giant. Though they're giant books. They're giant books. You know. So, but yeah, that's oh, also there's another source that you could look for information. Um, Another source is Find a Grave. Okay, Find a Grave. That's a free source. You don't have to pay anything for that. Let me see if I can share the screen here. Give me a second. Find a grave. Recents. Okay, here's the Find a Grave site here. Okay, and that Find a Grave is free. Okay, so you just type in the first name, middle name, last name, year born, year died, and cemetery location. You know, and you see this on. I've seen this quite a few times on Ancestry. You know, on different attached to different family trees and things of that nature. And I've been able to obtain certain information um, from there. You know, yeah. Remove that. Yeah. So, this is part one of this particular topic, and we'll be doing a couple of more shows with regards to Caribbean genealogy. When I said, I found my mom's half sister on Find a Grave. Her surname was different than my mother's. Mm. Now, was that, or her half sister? I guess that was, let's see, the surname was different than the mother's. That could be for various reasons, you know. Um, she could have taken the surname of the other parent. Um, I'm just guessing. I'm just speculating. Um, Sometimes people have different surnames for various reasons. Sometimes people just take a different surname for whatever reason, or maybe she got married uh, and it changed that way. I don't know the specific circumstances of that particular relative of yours. So it's, let's see. So, oh, my great mother, I guess it's grandmother, remarried after her first husband's passing. Okay, yeah, yeah. Um, let's see, what else did I want to cover before? There's something else that I wanted to cover. Let me see. Just want to make sure I covered what I wanted to cover. Let me see. Let's make sure I'm covering everything before I close out. Um, yeah, I guess that's it for today. And yeah, but that's pretty much it for today, you know. And Oh, the name of the book. Give me 1 second. I'll pull that up for you. The name of the book. I'll type it in. And I'll put the link to where it can be purchased in there as well. Give me 1 second. Give me a second. I'm just typing that in the chat. One. Okay, I put the name of the book and where it could be bought in the chat. Yeah, but yeah, this is the first of maybe a three-part show, and hope to see y'all back in at for the next show. I'll have some more resources for you all. Okay, and on the next show, I'll probably have a few more panelists joining in, and also open up the show for anyone who wants to join in. As a matter of fact, even now, if anyone wants, to, in the last segment of the show, if anyone wants to join in on the discussion, feel free. Just drop your email, and we can chat. But what I also want to do with this particular series is those who are trying to find family members, put your surnames that you're looking for in the chat, and you never know. There may be somebody watching the video who may be, that's another, listen, another way, I'm going to tell you, be totally honest with you, another way that I found a lot of family members was by looking online, you know. Wait, hold on 1 second. It's getting a little dark now. Let me turn on the light. Yeah, was just going online on social media, you know, on social media, I was able to, like Facebook, things of that nature. I found relatives that way, just looking on Facebook, you know. Type in the surname that you're looking for, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, whatever, type in the surname that you're looking for, and sometimes you find those family members just right there, you know. Um, YouTube. Sometimes I've found family members on YouTube, you know. Type in the surnames. I'm giving you little tricks of the trade because I tell you, sometimes you have to be unorthodox in your approach. You see, you got to be unorthodox in your approach to finding these things. Okay. And I do it all the time, you know, and you can reach out. Don't be afraid. Let's say if you're on Ancestry, don't be afraid to reach out to people who have your who you share ancestry with, you know, your DNA. If you did DNA, not everyone's done DNA on Ancestry. Some people have just uploaded family trees or whatever. If you haven't done DNA, you just have a family tree, and you see somebody's family tree up there that is family, then reach out to them, send them a message. You know, I've done it, and you know, it helps because then not there's no guarantee that they'll always respond, but there are those who will respond. And just by doing that, I've been able to expand my family tree because, as I said, doing genealogy is like a big puzzle, and we all come with a piece. So if everyone puts a piece in, you know, over time you build, that puzzle becomes, more and more complete, you know, and yeah, yeah. Thanks, thanks. Um, oh, thanks, thanks, Awanasa. The beads are the tribal beads. These are the colors of the Garifuna flag. Yeah, and okay, you found a cousin on Facebook. Oh, okay, nice, nice. Yeah, see, so you see what I'm saying. You know, just yesterday, I came across a cousin on Facebook who I was a DNA match to. And I recognized the name right away. You know, so yeah. But anyway, I don't want to keep y'all. I know it's a Monday, even though it is Martin Luther King's birthday and many of us are off. I know that the next day, tomorrow, we all have to go back to work, at least most of us, you know. So hopefully y'all enjoyed the show, and I hope that I was able to share something that y'all could take away and find useful. Okay. So I'm gonna sign out now, and until the next time, Toda Gohan E, Sarame. Sereme, ayo.